to keep Brody Mihocek, a stalwart of the club, someone who bleeds black and white and screams of the foundations that the club was built on in its formative years. On the other hand, we have Jamie Elliott, who is simply a unicorn in his position, a small forward who can take contested aerial marks and has the clutch gene that can make moments out of nothing and earn you premiership points where other players could not dare comprehend kicking a goal in those moments. Today, we're going to dive into the pros and cons in the negotiations and the ability of the player moving forward in both Jamie Elliott and Brody Mihocek. It's time to talk all things black and white. Starting with Brody Mihocek, as far as we are aware, he has a 1-year offer on the table, and the murmurs around this offer from the Brody Mihocek helm is that they are not impressed and we're hoping for a longer contract than that initially offered. When we look at this offer and we ask the question, why wouldn't Brody Mihocek be impressed with this? Well, he probably has a myriad of reasons to lean on, one being what he's been able to do for the club in place of the absence of not having a truly recognized key tall forward that stands 6'5" or higher. Brody Mihocek is a 6'4" and can also compete at ground level, applying elite pressure in the forward 50. In 2025, he is a top 20 forward, top 10 forward for tackles inside 50. So he has some of those reasons to lean on. But then when you play the other side of the field, being the list management side at the Collingwood Football Club, you ask the question, what do we have already that could prosper into a generational or relative stopgap that can present as a Brody Mihocek or more in the near future? You look at young players like Charlie West, who has come out in flying colours in his initial AFL year, being drafted at the end of 2024. He comes into the club, has a ripper preseason, dominates the VFL, kicking 30 plus goals before he succumbed to a foot injury, and also being graced with an opportunity to play an AFL game against the West Coast Eagles, where he was able to imprint the scoreboard with a goal of his own. That's where you beg the question. You say, well, what we have available right now is a Charlie West who can potentially emulate early positive seasons that we've seen from players like Cal Shadia and Logan Morris. You also say, well, have Collingwood played small with one less key sized forward in the past? You look at years like 2022 and 2023, to compensate for not having genuine key forward talent like a Ben King, like a Harry Mackay, like a Max King, albeit injured, and throw in a Jesse Hogan, we were able to compensate by way of rotating a Darcy Cameron and a Mason Cox through the forward line. Is that an opportunity in the works for Mason Cox to extend his career by another year if it means Mihocek isn't to be in the black and white next year, and allows us to nurture and grow Charlie West in an already experienced side, being surrounded by great players, and have that shoulder to lean on, being key tall ruckmans who can play forward, leaning on a Tim Membry who is workman-like, and then McStay, who hasn't had the greatest year himself, would be looking to vindicate himself next season. Nevertheless, what you can expect from the very least from someone like Dan McStay is to pass down some wisdom to a player like Charlie West. So the argument from maybe a fan, maybe from list management, is we can accommodate the absence of a Brody Mihocek more than a Jamie Elliott. Moving on to the conversation of Jamie Elliott, who has been tabled a 2-year deal, where we're hearing he's probably not liking the fact that it is not as lucrative as he would hoped it would have been. Given the season he has had in 2025, Jamie Elliott has kicked to this point, being immediately after the qualifying final against Adelaide, where he kicked 4 goals, which was crucial to Collingwood securing an unlikely away win to the number 1 side in the comp in hostile territory. Jamie Elliott has kicked 56 goals to date. Now, the argument against, maybe we'll start with the argument against Jamie Elliott, is probably the first thing is his durability. That has been the biggest question mark over the course of this season. However, for the second time in as many as 3 years, Jamie Elliott has managed to accumulate 24 games or more in a season. In 2024, he succumbed to a foot injury that limited him to 15 games. 2023-24 was a total of 24 games. And in 2022, he had managed to achieve 19 games. So the durability question could be a little bit obsolete at this point in time, given he's played a bunch of games consistently over the course of the last 3 to 4 years, having overcome those debilitating back injuries earlier in his career. So maybe that isn't an argument that list management can lean on now. Looking at the pros to keeping Jamie Elliott, well, the question is, who is the heir apparent for Jamie Elliott? Some of you suggest Harvey Harrison, Will Hayes, who's still very early on in his career, being his first season at AFL level. I just don't think those players have the X factor and the versatility that Jamie Elliott has maintained over the course of his career. Jamie Elliott's ability to take special marks, to kick special goals in clutch moments that get you over the line where not many other players will be able to achieve that in that moment. We saw Jack Crisp had his moment against Geelong early this year. Unfortunately, it fell just short, and he's known to be the finals players of all finals players. He couldn't himself manage to kick a goal after the siren against Geelong. Yes, it's a small sample size. Yes, it's a matter of margins, but in moments where you might not get this opportunity ever again, Jamie Elliott tends to grasp those moments and thrive in those moments time and time again. Surprisingly, some of you might come to learn that Jamie Elliott is also a top forward pressure player, top 20 in the league in 2025, and adds to the many strings on his bow, being that aerial ability he has, having the clutch gene, and then you add the tackling pressure. He's the perfect makeup of what a Collingwood player is in 2025 at their very best. It is a very, very difficult question that I pose to you, and in this moment we're at a stalemate. I wanted to lay down the bare bones of where we're at with both of these players. There's a lot of other side stories to this whole tale that we're seeing in motion right now. One of the questions, or the curious questions you might ask yourself, is, are we doing to Brody Mihocek what St Kilda did to Tim Membry? But the difference was, so yes, Tim Membry was only offered 1 year and subsequently accepted being delisted to search for a 2-year contract offer elsewhere, which he got at Collingwood. The difference is Tim Membry at St Kilda was amongst a bunch of players who are much younger than who Brody Mihocek is amongst at this moment. So Collingwood aren't as willing to offer that 2-year contract, knowing that if we lose Brody Mihocek, we don't lose a lot of experience across the average age of the team, whereas St Kilda giving up a Tim Membry is a completely different conversation. In the end, both of these players are integral to what the Collingwood Football Club are about in 2025. However, there is a looming reality that maybe it's one or the other. Do you guys think we can have both of them when you factor in as well that Ben King possibly be coming to the Collingwood Football Club at the end of 2026? Other potential key forwards on the market we will be looking heavily into. There's another one of those factors working against Brody Mihocek. If you are enjoying this type of video and you are new to the channel, please consider subscribing. I aim and endeavor to push out a video like this at least once a week for the foreseeable future. Now, over to you guys in the comment section. I'm keen to hear your thoughts, and as always, go Pies.